Throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously very boring. Now almost too exciting. Thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.
Hi there, welcome along to the Racing Post Weekend Football Postcast. I'm Bruce Millington, and joining me this week is a top team comprising Mark Langdon and Dan Childs from the Racing Post Football Desk, two of the finest judges I know, and also another wise owl, Paddy Power's odds compiler, first goal scorer expert and general great judge, Jason Murphy. The football is back, the proper stuff is back. We've had international break, it's quite good, better than normal because it's the Nations League rather than friendlies, but thank goodness the decent stuff is back. We've got 5 live Premier League games. We're going to go through those in detail. We'll look at all the other 5 games. We'll look further down the divisions and right across Europe to bring you all the best bets of the weekend. Grab a pen and paper, but before then we'll do the 6 questions, 2 each, and then the lads get to answer the one they wish they had been asked. We'll start with you, Mark Langdon. Mark, how much more enjoyable are international breaks now that it is the National League, Nations League even, rather than just friendlies?
Yeah, do you know, I think a good example came on Tuesday when England played Switzerland in a terrible game, really. And the Saturday against Spain and around Europe, there were good games. I think as soon as you put points at stake, professional players they kind of ears prick up to it, and that they want to win. They don't want to be relegated, don't want to lose. And there was that with England, with Gareth Southgate. All of a sudden, going into that Switzerland game, he's lost 3 competitive matches in a row, and so I did enjoy it. I think.
Did you up your betting?
No. I mean, I had a watching brief on the first because I wasn't sure which teams were going to be taking it seriously. I think what we do know now is that most of them are. The one interesting one for me was Iceland. There was a huge move for Switzerland to beat Iceland on this Saturday. I mean, and they won 6-0. Either Iceland's time at the top table is over, or they're not taking it seriously, and then they were thumped by Belgium as well. So they might be a team to oppose. I mean, over the next couple of international breaks. But overall, it was good. And I think lower down the pecking order, we saw a lot of teams, really giving it absolutely everything. All of a sudden, Scotland are in with a decent chance of qualifying already for the Euro. So I think it's good.
Good, excellent. Now then, Dan, I've got a question for you. If all football had to be shown on only one channel, which channel would you choose?
I'll go for BBC, really, just for the simple lack of adverts. Really, it's just annoying that you really only get 5 minutes at half time on Sky and on ITV, especially during a World Cup.
If BBC did have adverts, would you still go for them?
Depends on the commentary team, I think. Then you decide, like when you get the World Cup final and you get the choice of the two, you go with the commentators.
Who's your number one commentator right now?
I like as a co-commentator. I like Jermaine Genius. I must admit, I know you didn't rate him much as a player, but I think as a commentator, he's very well researched. You can see that even when he goes down, I've heard him do National League games, and he really does research his subjects, and he's very thoughtful and tells you things.
So who would you have next to JJ, as I believe he's called in the gantry?
I still like Martin Tyler as I mean, I know he's been doing it many years, but I think he's still in that position, and rightly so.
So your dream team is Martin Tyler, Jermaine Genius, BBC. Thank you, Dan. Yeah. Jason, your first question: whose side are you on, O'Neill and Keane or the players?
Good question. Look, Martin O'Neill, he's built his reputation on teams being hard to beat. Now, in our last 2 competitive games, we've conceded 9 goals, 5 against Denmark and 4 against Wales the other night. Now, whatever 11 or whatever players are missing, and yes, we are missing a few from our best 11, you still have 11 professional footballers that you're putting on a pitch, and they should be better organised than what they were against Wales. But having said that, if Martin O'Neill was to go and Keane to go with him, who do you get to replace him? Mick McCarthy's available. I wouldn't mind seeing Mick McCarthy coming back in. With regards to Roy Keane, look, I was a big Roy Keane fan when Saipan happened, but with each passing year, what Mick McCarthy did by sending him home becomes more and more understandable.
It was fascinating though, wasn't it? That leaked social media note, the account of what happened, wasn't it? It was absolutely extraordinary.
I can't believe it, Jack.
Ward sort of walking into training the next day after, one of his mates or whatever had leaked it. I mean, that must have been an awkward position for him to have to turn up.
It was fascinating stuff, wasn't it? Okay, but you basically you're sticking with O'Neill and Keane now, are you?
For now, I don't see any point in changing now. Let's see what happens when everyone's fit. And there's probably a good thing with UEFA Nations League that it was a competitive game, as in there's no hiding. Like if that was hiding place to go, if that was a friendly match against Wales, you can say, oh, we were getting experience, young lads, etc., etc. But when it's a competitive game and you lose badly, then you're accountable for it. Like.
Absolutely. Now then, Mark, general question about how you go about finding winners. What day do you first start looking ahead to the weekend?
I would say you're sort of looking Saturday night, really.
Saturday night?
If I've got the time on the Saturday night, it'll be Saturday night, if not Sunday.
And just take us through the first things for what you look for.
Okay, I would go for...
Which division do you look at?
I would just go in order. So I just start from the Premier League and just work my way down that Saturday night. The results... If I, this is assuming I've got the time on the Saturday night. If not, it'd be the Sunday, sort of morning. The results, the stats, manager quotes, the sort of lineup. So you see if somebody's gone off in the first half, so you know that they're injured, and then you start building a profile of teams you want to be with for the for that midweek or the the next weekend. Because if you start doing it on Monday afternoon, or quite often there's midweek matches, so I think you're already sort of behind if you're leaving it that late. So no, it would be the sort of Saturday night, even from sort of 5 o'clock on a Saturday. Really start building that profile of what happened in the game beyond the result, basically.
Okay, and then you'd finalise your Saturday selections that go in your column.
That would be Friday, because the prices change so much. I mean, the early shows now on a Monday, they're basically not worth anything really. They change so much by the time you get round to doing it on a Friday. I mean, I was speaking to Dan on Monday and I was saying, Portsmouth are way too big. They're about 9-4 at Peterborough. Just had a look now, they're 7-4. So I mean,
perhaps we need to bring back the early bird.
Well, yeah, maybe. I mean, the thing is, those prices are difficult to get. I think horse racing punters maybe find out the night before. It's very difficult. Not until the market is formed that you can sort of really have a decent bet on them, I think.
Interesting. Thank you very much. Dan Childs, who wins the Champions League, starts on Tuesday.
I've had a good look at this. I just think, if you remember this time last year, after Paris Saint-Germain had put that fantastic attack together, I think they were virtually favourites, weren't they, to win it? Now I know they've yet again flattered to deceive. They won their group, didn't they? Finished ahead of Bayern Munich, were very strong in the group, and then fell against Real Madrid. Got an unbelievably tough draw, really. When you think that to win your group and then get Real Madrid is harsh, really. I know
that first leg could have gone the other way.
First leg, they were the better team for much of that first leg. So really, I'm looking at it again, and they're about fifth, I think, on the market now, and around 7-1. So I just think they're a little bit. You can argue they're overpriced now. I think with the Champions League, you need a bit of luck. There's a lot of teams. I'm looking at it, and there's about 10 teams you can make a realistic case for winning it. But I like to have the team who I think's got the best attack, and you look at that attack, it's covering all bases really. With Cavani as your power, Neymar's one of the best footballers on the planet, and Mbappe's fast becoming one of the best attackers on the planet. So, for me, I know you can argue about the deficiencies in the rest of the side. Every one of those teams near the top of the market has got weaknesses, but I would just go with them because I think they've got the best attack. Okay,
Jason, take us through Paddy Power's latest Champions League betting, if you would.
So favourites, Man City 11-2. You can get Barcelona at 6-1. We still have Juventus a bit short, I think, at 13-2. PSG there 7-1. Real Madrid 17-2, shortening a bit. Bayern Munich 8-1. Liverpool were joint top price there 12-1. And Atletico Madrid 12-1. And then you have Spurs 25-1 and United 20-1 with us, but there's bigger out there on them.
Okay, thank you very much. And Jason, give us your best bet for match week 1.
Match week 1 of the Champions League?
Yeah.
For me, I think Valencia have started real slow in Spain, and I think Juventus with the Ronaldo factor, I think they're short in the outright, but they've been good in the Champions League. Probably overall top 3 team in the last 4 or 5 years. They're always consistently getting to the latter stages. Very good manager Allegri, who can actually change it up tactically as well and make a difference. So Juventus away to Valencia, I would look at, but when it comes to Champions League betting, just wait and see how all the weekend matches go before you go backing. In the outright though, personally I think Atletico Madrid are a very good bet. There's 16-1 out there on them. The final is being played in the Wanda, Atletico Madrid's home stadium, so I think if they were in the final, that's something that you'd have to factor into the price too. And Diego Simeone's record in knockout competitions is second to none, and he's already gotten them to Champions League finals before. They have started poor in La Liga, which they did last year too, and came better in the second half of the season. If they were out of a title race in the second half of the season in La Liga, they'll put all their eggs in this basket too. So I think Atletico Madrid in the outright is a good bet.
Is that is that the question you've taken then, is it, Jason?
No, I'll come back to you on that. I have a good...
Oh, you're having two goes, eh? Yeah. Wants to go through the card. Jason, right, Mark, you're not allowed to answer the Champions League question because we've got a super duper pull-out on Tuesday, haven't we?
We have,
in the Racing Post. Make sure you read that. And Mark will be naming his tips there, so you can't answer that one. Sorry, my friend.
No, I agree with Jason about going through the card. A lot of interesting.
Do you like
questions.
him this week?
Do you? Yeah. I mean, I'm going to say I've just put the football on Sky. Get rid of at least Roy Keane, complete troublemaker. But the one I'll do is match day one. Shakhtar Donetsk at home to Hoffenheim. I mean, it's at home nominally. They're playing Ukraine, but not in Donetsk. But actually, they've won 6 of their last 7 home matches. Hoffenheim struggled in the Europa League last season. I think these smaller Bundesliga teams, when they come into Champions League and even Europa League, they're not used to playing Saturday, Tuesday. It's alien to them. They haven't got the squad. They've got quite a lot of injuries as well at the moment. Shakhtar have lost Fred, they've lost Bernard, but they're still I think a strong enough team to. They're 11-10 at home to Hoffenheim. Feels very big to me.
Dan.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Atletico Madrid. Their first game's away to Monaco. I agree with Jason. I think it's going to be, with them having the final at their ground, they're going to be really keen to do well, especially after last year as well. They made such a pig's ear of the group stage. Obviously, in the end, went on to win the Europa League. I just think that the team they're playing, they've actually signed one of their best players, signed Lamar from Monaco. Monaco have also lost Fabinho and Matinho, lost the heart of their midfield, really, and they're struggling at the start of the season.
Well, so are Atletico. I mean, I've got so many eggs in that basket.
Struggling in a much tougher league, though. I mean, they've lost one game, Atletico. Monaco have already lost to Bordeaux and Marseille in the French league. They've had a really poor start. So, and it's the sort of ground Monaco as well. It's not one of the most intimidating grounds to go to and win away from home. So I would fancy Atletico.
Probably the least intimidating.
Well, exactly. Yeah,
it's empty. It's those are things, millionaires.
Those are things you got to look at as well when you're looking at an away bet. You know that it will affect the price. You know how much chance they got depending on how intimidating the arena is. So
okay, Jason, I think there's one you haven't answered. So go on.
Just maybe you're familiar with him, Brian Kerr. He does TV here, TV3 is the channel. But as far as football commentary goes, he used to be the Ireland manager. Very successful youth setups with Ireland too. He's won under 16, under 18 European Championships. But his knowledge of football is second to none. Like if you're looking at a Slovakian under 21 match, he'll be able to tell you something about the centre half that no one else would know. But he also comes out with these sayings that are very entertaining, as in, if you have a tall lad up front, he'll do co-commentary, he'll do match analysis, but he'll be like, oh, he's a great man to decorate a Christmas tree, or he'll call out anyone. If someone goes down when they shouldn't go down, he'll call it out straight away. It's like, oh, he's gone down like he's been shot or knifed, and your man didn't even touch him. Like, he'll call it as it is. Brian Kerr, like, if you don't know him, I mean, they should get him over to the UK or even get him back in the Ireland job, because when he had it, he was unlucky to be let go. We nearly qualified. Couple of late goals cost him, but he's a fantastic man, and stick all your football channels, or stick him on all your football, is the way I do it.
I remember he used to have the most Irish accent ever, didn't he? It was really so Irish. It's brilliant. But yeah, I always enjoyed listening to him. He was a good guy.
He sounds sort of like a bit like David Pleat, who has got that same knowledge and kind of has his own sort of mannerisms and sayings.
Well, Pleat I always thought was great between and after games, but in the live environment in co-commentary, he'd get a little bit tongue twisted, and that's where what was he called him? Marcus de Beasley,
yeah,
didn't
he? Yeah. Better on the radio.
He was, but no, good man, wasn't he? Yeah. Thank you very much, chaps. That's absolutely superb. Right then, what are we doing next? Let's do the first of the live games. It's the Saturday 12:30 kickoff. Probably a game, not even probably the game of the weekend. It is the game of the weekend. It's Tottenham versus Liverpool. It's not at the New Lane. It's not at Milton Keynes. I think they're back at Wembley for this one. What's the latest betting from Paddy Power, Jason?
Tottenham 9-5 to draw 5-2, and Liverpool a bit short there at 7-5 at the moment.
Okay, we've got 2 Tottenham fans and a Man U fan in here, so it'll all be unbiased. Dan Childs, lead on.
Yeah, I'm going to go for Spurs here. I just think the prices look a little bit wrong to me. I think it's the first big test. really, for Liverpool, not being disparaging to who they've played, which obviously includes Crystal Palace. But I didn't think they looked totally comfortable at Palace actually in that game. I thought it was one of them games, dodgy penalty if you like, could have gone either way. And at Leicester, after it goes 2-1, I thought they were rocking a little bit there at Leicester. So I just think that defence, they're all players that are probably going to be very good players, but it's a lot of inexperience in. You've got Joe Gomez in the centre, you've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, I still think he's learning the game defensively, and I'm not even sure about Robertson defensively. I think he's much better going forward than defending. So in these big games away from home, we saw in against Roma in the semi-final away from home that they are a little bit vulnerable there defensively at times, and I just think Spurs have got the players that can exploit it, and there's really that they don't seem to be given much value here to home advantage. They played them twice last season, beat them 4-1 at home. Again, it was a great counter-attacking performance that day from Spurs, and the 2-2 at Anfield, where I thought they were probably the better side for a large part of that game. So. I just think that price-wise, you're looking at it, and Spurs are overpriced. They've not been great in the first 4 games, but they've got 9 points. And I think an extra 2 weeks as well will give the players that they had a lot of players at the World Cup semi-finals. They might be a little bit further along fitness-wise as well. So another plus in Tottenham's favour.
Okay, Dan likes Tottenham. Who do you like, Jason?
Tottenham's record actually at Wembley is very good. They've played 20 games, they've won 14 and drawn 2. But my concerns are over the fitness of Kane and Ali as well after pulling out the England squad. Now, coming into this, I wanted to back Liverpool, and your thinking is, well, they play better against the better teams and were let down maybe against the bottom half teams last season. But the record away to the top 6 last season was really poor. They were well beaten by Man City and Spurs. Then they drew 3-3 with Arsenal there at Christmas. So you think Van Dijk has come in after Christmas and that sort of things out. But he played against United and Chelsea away and they lost both games too. You think, okay, was that maybe tied up in concentrating on the Champions League? It really wasn't. Those games against United and Chelsea weren't affected by the Champions League either. So my thinking coming around to this and looking at the prices is I would either back the draw or looking at both teams to score, I think will click, but it's only 8 to 15. You could back the draw and both teams to score at 3-1, but I think I'll just play it safe and I'd back the draw at 5-2. If you were looking for a first goal scorer bet, with Kane and Salah taking up so much of the market, I'm a big fan of Mane. He's got 4 goals already in the league. But if you want to back your Mo Salah, we're a very competitive price on Salah there at 4-1 at the moment. But for me, I think it's going to be a draw.
Mark, what do you think?
I think maybe pulling in both of those bets, Tottenham draw no bet. I'm just struggling to see Liverpool as sort of favourites at Wembley against Tottenham. Spurs have only lost 1 of their last 19 Premier League games at Wembley. They've won 8 of the 9. I think there's a bit of confirmation bias about Liverpool in that everybody pre-season, or most people pre-season, fancied them to be the main challengers. They've got 12 points on the board, and so we're right. They are definitely the challengers. West Ham at home, Brighton at home, Crystal Palace away, Leicester away. They took 12 points from those 4 fixtures last season. So we don't actually know if they've got any better. It was a Leicester team missing Vardy. Brighton don't score any goals away from home.
And
they went
terrible. Ahead very early against Brighton, didn't they? And didn't really keep
on.
So
I mean, they may well be, and they probably are Man City's greatest rivals. But I can't say for certain that they've made this sudden leap just yet, and Tottenham obviously have got exactly the same team as last season, so we know their level, and so I'd much rather be with them in a game like this than Liverpool, albeit that Liverpool have got the gears, if they are that good, to go through them, but it's almost being assumed that they're that good, and I don't think we've seen that just yet.
Jolly good. Back with the other Saturday games next.
Throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously very boring. Now almost too exciting. Thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.
OK, welcome back. Let's whiz through the 3 p.m. non-televised Premier League games. I'm going to call out Paddy Power's prices, and you boys are very quickly going to tell me what's going to happen. 11-8 Bournemouth, 2-1 Leicester, 23-10 the draw. Mark?
I'm going to go Leicester draw no bet. Vardy's back. I mean, Bournemouth have started well, better than I expected. But, I mean, long term, I've got Leicester being quite a bit better than Bournemouth, so I'll go Leicester draw no bet.
Dan?
Yeah, I'll agree with all of that. I fancy Leicester. Vardy's going to make a big difference. They're a good away side, good on the counter-attack. Won at Southampton last time. Away
and Jason?
Yeah, I thought Bournemouth should have been one up at Chelsea there. They missed some sitters. Vardy coming back is a big plus for Leicester. Over 2.5 goals, has clicked in 8 of Leicester's last 9 away games. So I think both sides are going to score here. So I'd be going both teams to score.
Chelsea are 1-7 to see off Cardiff, who are 17-1. It's 6-1 the draw. Mark Langdon, will Chelsea stuff them?
I don't think they'll stuff them. I mean, win to nil is probably the sort of safest bet. If you're looking for maybe correct scores, I'd go 1-0, 2-0. I don't think Chelsea are playing with much fluency at the moment, and Cardiff may look to just protect themselves from an absolute hiding.
Dan?
Yeah, I just think this is going to be blanket Cardiff defence trying to hang on as long as they can. They may get to half-time here. Chelsea sometimes take a while to get going. Didn't score first half against Newcastle or Bournemouth, so I'm going to go draw Chelsea, double result 11-4.
Jason?
Yeah, I'd second that. I think Chelsea's last 3 games has been draw half-time, 1 full-time, so I'd be going with that. But if you want a bit of value, Chelsea should dominate this game too, so likely chance of a penalty in the match, so get on Hazard there for first goal scorer each way.
The big game of the weekend, Huddersfield versus Palace. Huddersfield are 21-10, Palace 7-5. It's 2 the draw, Mark.
Zaha, if he's back, it sounds like he is. Crystal Palace.
Yeah,
Dan?
same for me, and I think Tompkins, maybe back as well alongside Sacco. That makes them even stronger at the back. So Palace for me.
Loving this, Jason?
Yeah, well, that's 3 yeses from us. Huddersfield haven't won in their last 8 matches, and again, if Zaha, if he walks on the pitch, if he's fit, then yeah, Palace all day long.
Beautiful, love that. Right then, Man City 1-10 to beat Fulham, who are 20-1. The draw is 9-1. Mark, any chance of a shock here?
Not really. I think the teams that are going to do City this season probably defend for their lives and nick something, and Fulham, that's not their game really. I think they'll look to play against City. That's not probably the best way of beating them. I was looking at 3-1 and 4-1 correct scores. Fulham are decent going forward. You can't see them holding out.
Dan?
I think Fulham are probably a little bit overpriced. They're probably should be near 14, 16-1, but you're probably on a value loser if you go that way. So I'll go 6-5, Man City and both teams to score. City have not kept a clean sheet in the last 3 games. Fulham got Mitrovic and Schürrle, big threats up front.
Good stuff. And Jason, even, what's your strategy here?
Yeah, like City have won 32 of their last 38 Premier League games. It's hard to oppose them, but we did against Wolves and it clicked. And at the prices, I think Fulham and the draw at 11-2 was a bet. What Guardiola has done at home as well is he started the 2 boys up top, Aguero and Jesus. So there's definitely value in Jesus if the 2 of them are starting up top. So have a look at him for a goal scorer bet. But Fulham in the draw, I think, is definitely worth a look.
Jason, if I held a gun to your head and said you've got to get Fulham's exact finishing position this season, what number would you say?
10th.
10th.
I was thinking that in my head as well.
Okay. Excellent. Newcastle versus Arsenal. We're going to do they've played for both clubs on this one as well, so give that some thought. It's 3-1 Newcastle, 13-5 the draw, 5-6 the Gunners. Mark, give us a tip, and have they played for both clubs?
In terms of the tip, I was looking to lay Arsenal. It's just a defence. It's just no better than when Arsene Wenger was there. And Aubameyang and Lacazette are going to need to score a lot of goals. I think if you can see 2 to Cardiff, I mean, what does that say about your defence? So I mean, I'll go for a lay of Arsenal. Can you come back to me on the they play for both clubs?
Yeah, my mind's gone blank on the lay play for both clubs. I've got Arsenal a shade of odds on. I think Lacazette and Aubameyang got the goals, didn't they, against Cardiff. That's going to give them a bit of confidence, and Newcastle are just so lacking up front.
Okay, so what's the bet?
Arsenal, yeah, for a
Arsenal.
shade of odds on. Yeah.
No one got any they played for both clubs yet, Jason?
Oh, I've drawn a blank with the boys here as well. Have to think, but with regards to the bet, Newcastle probably the highlight of their season last year, beating Arsenal 2-1 at home. John Joe Shelby's to come back into the team would make a bit of a difference, but I think Arsenal still defensively have problems to sort out. Newcastle, say what you mean about them being defensively, but they've still scored against Spurs and City, so I think both teams to score. It's a bit short, but I still think it's going to click in this match.
I've got one. Isaac Hayden.
Isaac Hayden, yeah. I think right backs.
Jenkinson, did he play for Newcastle?
Debussy.
No. Debussy.
Debussy, yeah.
Malcolm McDonald. Slightly before your time. Let's do you can just shout names out discriminately, throughout the rest of the show. At 5:30, Watford take on Jason's beloved Manchester United at Vicarage Road, live in front of the BT Sport cameras. And Man United just about odds on, Jason.
Yes, they are. So we have Watford at 10-3. You have to draw at 12-5, and United at 5-6. Looking at the price, Spurs went off against Watford. It was 8-11, priced at 100%. So I think United, I don't think the gap is as big as that, so I'd be looking at a United win. Now, having said that, Watford under Gracia, since he's came in, they've only lost one of their 11 home games. It's a very good record there. I haven't seen much of Watford, I'll be honest, but I heard like them out-muscle Spurs. But if you look at United starting 11 the last time against Burnley, he played Fellaini, Matic and Pogba in the midfield. So I think that would be a good match for whatever Watford have in the physical stakes. So for me, I'd be just looking to play a Man United win here. If you were looking for a goal scorer from a Watford point of view, the Argentine Robert Piera, 9 of his 10 Premier League goals have all come at home. He's got 3, I think, this season already. But the first goal scorer bet is definitely Lukaku. He's on one of those burst of forms at the moment. He's 5 goals in 3 games, 2 against Burnley last week, 2 against Scotland, got another one against Iceland during the week for Belgium. So I'd be going for Lukaku, first goal scorer, back United to win as well.
And while the boys are giving us their fancy, can you dig out a price for a red card in the game? Because I think there may well be one. Mark, what do you like here?
Andy Cole for both
Andy
clubs.
Cole, well played.
Yeah,
yes.
sorry. I agree about United actually. These sort of middle to smaller teams. I mean, there is a little bit of it can't carry on. They've won 4 in a row, but that's not the reason. I think United. 8 of 14 away wins against teams not in the top 6, so they've got a better than 50% record there. I mean, and even if Watford, I mean, their sort of top half, bottom half finish is sort of around about 10 to 11. So, if they finish around about 10th, 11th, we are looking at an average Premier League team, and Manchester United, on average, win more than 50% of those. I mean, I've got lots of reservations about Manchester United long term.
What's your number one reservation?
Just the fact that, I mean, the centre-half position, really. I mean, they were horrendous at Brighton. Didn't think they deserved to get beat 3-0 against Tottenham. They were the better team first half, got done by Harry Kane's goal, and then it seemed to just all unravel for them. But actually, the way they bounced back against Burnley, albeit Burnley had been in Europa League, I admired that was a big game for them, and they came through it very convincingly. And I agree that their physicality that they've got gives them a good chance of nullifying Watford's main threats.
Okay, and Dan, what's your view of this one? You're going, aren't you?
I'm going. I think Watford are a good price. Actually, I'm going to tip Watford. I think one of the big things in their favour, they've had very few international call-ups. Only of the first 11, only Daryl Janmaat was called up for Holland. So all the rest of the team. And I think that makes a difference over an international break. You got for 2 weeks the players working with Grazia on this game. Most of the Man United's players have gone away, come back. They've lost probably Luke Shaw. There's a few reports saying there's still a slight chance that he'll play. He has been one of their better players, actually, Luke Shaw. Alexis at Burnley, even though they won the game when he was substituted, didn't look very happy. He isn't playing very well. One of their, should be one of their big players. Watford are going to have to deal with Lukaku, but Manchester United, as has been mentioned, their defence at the centre isn't great, and Deeney and Gray, the centre forwards, are a big part of why Watford have been so good this season. So I just think it's going to be a very even game, and I would take Watford at the prices.
OK, Jason, what price is a red card at Vicarage Road?
Yeah, it's a 7-2 for a red card in the match. If you're wanting to back a particular player, Fellaini there at 16-1. He's had 3 red cards in his career, 2 at United, so it could be worth a bet.
I like the sound of both of those. We will do Sunday's matches next.
Throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously very boring. Now almost too exciting. Thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.
Hi there, it's Bruce Millington, Mark Langdon, Dan Childs and Paddy Powers. Jason Murphy looking ahead to Sunday's 2 live games on the Racing Post Football Postcast. We'll start with the 1:30. Wolves versus Burnley, 2 clubs absolutely steeped in football history going head-to-head at Molineux. Wolves, Favs, Jason, just how short are they?
Wolves 8-13, draw 13-5 and Burnley 9-2.
Head on, Dan Childs.
I really like Wolves here. I mean, they're in one of my strongest fancies of the week for the Premier League. I just think Burnley, right at the start of the season, I thought they could be, possibilities for relegation. The Europa League obviously hasn't helped, but I don't think they've got enough quality in the side. They were winning a lot of tight games last season. Now it's going the other way, and once you're under that pressure and you got 1 point from 4 games, I just think they're going to struggle to dig themselves out. Wolves, on the other hand, it's not the place you want to go at the moment. Had their win at West Ham, got their first win of the season. That was coming, really. They've not played badly in any of their matches. They were probably the better team when they lost at Leicester 2-0. Played well enough at home to Everton, and at West Ham got a deserved. And Man City, probably one of their best performances so far, the 1-1. So There's a slight doubt over Jimenez, who's looked good for him, the centre forward. He got a bit of a knock, I think, whilst playing for Mexico. But they've got players like Traore, who's come off the bench, scored the winner last time out to come in. So Wolves for me.
OK, Dan, very sweet on Wolves. Who are you very sweet on? Jason Murphy.
Absolutely second everything the boys say there. They were by far the better team against West Ham all over the pitch. Ruben Neves, he's turned into one of these players that you'd watch the match just because he's on the pitch. Like, some of the passing he picks out is phenomenal. Under Nuno, they've only lost 2 of 29 home games. I know championship games, a lot of them were, but still, they're a fantastic side. First team since 2017-18 started that season to have double-figure attempts against Man City, so they're very good going forward, whereas Burnley have regressed from last season. I think the problem with the Europa League wasn't so much fitness, it's just with the travelling, you're not getting the time in on the training ground to get organised defensively as good as Burnley would have been in previous seasons, and plus if you're sticking Joe Hart in the goal, that's always going to be a problem too. So just to second what the boys say, absolutely all over the Wolves win here, stick it in your accumulators.
OK, we say what the boys say. We haven't heard what Mark Langdon says yet. He might be all over Burnley.
Yeah, I think this again's priced up about right. I'm not as sweet, certainly, on Wolves. I just wonder if Burnley are capable of... so I was looking maybe at no goal scorer in this one. I think that's Burnley's best hope. But they are a team last season that were able to frustrate teams that played football. They got at least a draw at United, Liverpool, Chelsea and Tottenham. Wolves do play good football. I am slightly concerned as to where Wolves' goals will come from in terms of, being somebody getting, say, 15 and getting them up to be best of the rest, because... not entirely convinced by Jimenez, and as Dan said, he picked up a knock on international duty, and that was a game that was played, wasn't played in Europe either.
Have they done roughly as well as you expected, or?
Yeah, the draw against Man City sort of propelled them into a better position, but they failed to beat Everton's 10 men, and they had long enough to get the win, and they. Adama Traore took advantage of a horrendous mistake from Carlos Sanchez. Otherwise, for all their good play, they wouldn't have found a way to goal against what's currently been the worst team in the Premier League. So that would be my concern if Dyche can go there and sort of do what Dyche does very well and set a team up to frustrate. And they have had the rest. They haven't been to played matches against Olympiacos and Istanbul, Başakşehir, and even that game against Aberdeen, which ordinarily would be an easy one because it was England-Scotland. There was a little bit more riding on that one. So I'm prepared to give them a bit more time to prove that they are better than their current results. So not a great bet heat for me. Like I know the others really fancy Wolves. I think no goal scorers a runner.
The 4 o'clock game is Everton versus West Ham. What's the latest betting, Jason?
Everton evens 12-5 to draw, and the Hammers 5-2.
And we'll stick with you, Jason.
Yeah, so Everton unbeaten in 9 of their last 10 at home. But defensively, the problem that they're having is 5 of the last 6 goals conceded were from set pieces. And they've actually had quite a few injury concerns for this game. I reckon they're missing probably 5 out of their best starting 11. If you're looking at Michael Keane, Seamus Coleman, Richarlison, Theo Walcott and Idris Gueye, who kind of does the N'Golo Kante job for them. So given their problems at the set pieces and the fact that Jagielka, Keane and Yerry Mina are all injured, I think they could concede from a set piece here again. So who have West Ham got that might be a threat? You have the new centre back from Toulouse, Diop. He's 6'4", scored a couple of goals for Toulouse last season. Also Mikel Antonio, if he starts, 18 of his 67 goals he's got in his career have all been from headers as well. So have a look at that angle, player to score a header from that point of view. I think given Everton's injuries concerns and looking at the prices, West Ham need to get a result and they need to get one soon, regardless whether it's a new manager, and he is a good manager, Pellegrini. He still needs to get a win on the board or even a good performance here. So I'd be looking at maybe West Ham in the draw no bet, and like I say, have a look at the boys maybe for goal scores.
Excellent. Have we got anywhere else with they played for both clubs?
So no, I've
gone.
I've forgotten about that now.
Drifting on to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like the thing is you end up losing your trailer fault for the
and I can't get any internet, so I can't even cheat and go on Google. Right, we're not playing that anymore. Mark, what's going to happen at Goodison?
Yeah, I was looking at the draw. I mean, I think I wouldn't put anyone off sort of trying to get with West Ham in some ways. I mean, as well as all those players that Jason mentioned, Calvert-Lewin also picked up an injury for the England under-21. So, I mean, he would be somebody that come in for Richarlison or Theo Walcott. They had one shot on target against Huddersfield before the international break. I mean, that's got to be a big concern, I think, for Everton. Richarlison not playing for the first time, and they had no attack in that game. I actually thought West Ham did quite well against Arsenal. They didn't deserve that. Certainly, first half they played. I watched that game. They didn't deserve, I don't think, the 3-1. So maybe there is a performance to come from them. And I totally agree about the set piece angle. Match of the Day did a bit on Marco Silva, and it wasn't just at Everton. At Watford and Hull, there was also a disproportionate amount of goals conceded from set pieces. So even if it doesn't click this week, certainly one to keep an eye on for future.
Goal.
Yeah, from set pieces, his teams have been vulnerable previously.
Okay, Dan, you were nodding your head vigorously when Mark said that Arsenal was slightly lucky to be 3-1 up against.
No,
West
it's
Ham.
not my Spurs bias coming through at all. But no, I think West Ham have got a little bit more to come, and I agree with a lot of what Mark said. Where I would go further, and I think West Ham are one of the better value bets on the coupon this weekend in the Premier League. I just think there's a lot of negativity there at the moment. 2 of the 4 games they've played, they've played a couple of the big clubs, haven't they, against Arsenal and Liverpool. So the games where they're disappointed, they've lost at home to Bournemouth when first half they probably had the better of the game. Then they've conceded the goal. The life goes out the stadium there. Sometimes the crowd there can get very down when things go wrong, and they've lost it. The Wolves game as well, in the second half, they have played better football in the second half, and it wouldn't have been the most unfair result in the world if that had finished 0-0 as well. So I'm not sure they're as bad as everybody's saying, and the real, even bigger reason for the bet is the amount of players that Everton have got out and the quality of those players. The real key to them being good at the start of the season, I think, was Richarlison and Walcott. The pace down the flanks they didn't have last season. That's when they were struggling under Koeman. They had no quality width. Well, they're back in the same situation now due to injuries and suspension. They've also got a really weak defence because of the players out there. The midfield with Idrissa Gueye and Andre Gomez is weakened as well. I just think West Ham, if they're going to win a game, this is a great chance for them to win.
Excellent. We've got Monday Night Football, which is always good news. It's at 8 p.m. It's at St Mary's. Southampton versus Brighton. The latest betting, please, Jason.
Southampton 10-11, draw 23-10, and Brighton 11-4.
Lango, you go first here.
Yeah, it's a bit bigger out there on Southampton. I agree with the 10-11. So I'll go for Southampton. I like the team that he picked against Crystal Palace. I know it was a Palace team missing a couple of key players, but they showed attacking intent. I mean, their expected goals was nearly 3.5 from that game. 4-4-2. Danny Ings up front with Long. There was a bit of mobility about them, a bit of threat from the wide areas. Redmond, and then in midfield, I like Højbjerg and Lamina. I think too often that their team hasn't made much sense when I've seen what's been picked, and you're trying to fit players into different positions. Brighton away from home only collected 11 points. 12 times they failed to score, so I'm not expecting this to be a high scoring game. They'll probably go to St Mary's and look to frustrate, but Danny Ings makes a difference for me for Southampton, so I'll go for a Southampton. If you want to sort of boost up the price, 1-0 might be a decent way to play.
Dan, what's your view?
I'm going to go for Brighton to nick this one. I just look at them at the moment. They've got 4 points. They've already played Manchester United and Liverpool in those games. Only the Liverpool game, they've only lost the game 1-0 away, and actually we're starting to apply a little bit of pressure towards the end of that game. Had a chance to nick an equaliser. So no, I'm not. I think they were awful in the first game at Watford. Since then they've played pretty well. Southampton, really the one result they've had is against the Crystal Palace team without Zaha. Now we know how big and important Zaha is to Palace, so I'm not that sweet on them. They've lost at home to Leicester, lost to Everton, drew 0-0 at home to Burnley. That was Burnley's only point of the season so far, so I'm not sold on them yet. I agree that Ings makes a bit of a difference for them, but no Brighton for me at the prices.
Difference of opinion here in the studio. Jason, what do you think will happen?
Yeah, I can agree with parts of what both the boys are saying, but I'm going to be back in the draw on this, and I'll tell you why. There are 2 immovable objects for the wrong reasons, these teams. Southampton have failed to win 12 of their last 13 home matches, and Brighton have failed to win away in their last 15 matches. Now, Southampton were better at Palace. Hodgson came out after the game and said Southampton deserved to win. But Danny Ings has made a big difference to them. He's a top player, unlucky with the injuries at Liverpool. But Shane Long is a doubt for this game. He was missing for Ireland during the week. And I just can't see Brighton with their away record going and winning the game either. So for me, I think a draw is what I'd be backing here.
OK, lads, a tough game, let's summarise. Right then, let's get the weekend naps.
This will not be beaten.
Mark Langdon, what will not be beaten?
I don't think Middlesbrough will be beaten, actually. That's quite apt because I'm going for them on the draw no bet. So they're 5 straight clean sheets in the Championship. They go to Carrow Road against a Norwich team, really, where the fans are against Daniel Farker, the coach. So if they don't start well, if Borough frustrate them, and Tony Pulis frustrates better than most, I wouldn't be surprised if the crowd then start getting on the players' back. And they've played 2 quality teams so far in the Championship at home. They lost 4-3 to West Brom and lost 3-0 against Leeds. I just think defensively they'll get found out.
Dan?
I'm going to go for Notts County, who are rock bottom of the entire football league. At home to Stevenage. They've got 1 point from 21 so far, so that's not much to say in their favour. I just think that they did get a lot of decent players in the summer.
What price were they at the start of the season?
They were among the favourites.
Yeah, at one stage they were anti-post favourites. I don't know if MK Dons jumped above them.
I still think you have to have a little bit at this stage of the season. You confirmed opinions that are too strong negatively against sides that have a poor side. They've got Harry Kewell in. He's had a full week on the training pitch to get to know the players, and those players should be doing a lot better than they are. They did get a 3-3 draw at Middlesbrough in an EFL Cup. It was a severely weaker Middlesbrough side, but shows they're capable of better than they've been doing. And the bigger reason is they're at home to Stevenage, who I think are going to struggle this season. They've scored 1 goal in the last 4 games. That was in a 1-0 win at home to Macclesfield, who are a poor side. So I just think Notts County odds against is worth taking.
And Jason, who are you napping?
Yeah, going to go to Serie A, Sampdoria away to Fransone. Fransone are the worst rated team in Serie A, and at the end of last season, in a game to decide on promotion, they were at home, and the ball boys, as opposed to giving the ball to the opposition, just kept throwing the balls back into the crowd. So as punishment, Fransone have had to play 2 home games behind closed doors, which negates any home advantage to a big extent. So Sampdoria's last game out as well, a very good 3-0 win against Napoli 2. Quagliarella up front, he scores goals, but some great goals. Definitely worth looking on YouTube. Like his top 10 goals are phenomenal to watch. But Sampdoria odds against the worst team in Serie A with no home advantage for them. I think Sampdoria is definitely an app.
That's disgraceful what the ball boys did there.
Palermo want €50 million compensation. They asked for the game to be replayed, I think. And
That's why I don't like Italian football, all that nonsense that goes on there. Right, OK, so we've got Borough draw no bet, we've got Notts County, we've got Sampdoria, and if you want the ACCA, I'm going to throw in Leicester draw no bet at Bournemouth 11-10 with Paddy Power. Thank you very much indeed, chaps. Now, Mark, you're not at football this weekend because you're getting your head down and cracking on with the Champions League supplement, aren't you? Which you'll also be helping with.
32 pages available on Tuesday or online on Monday.
Great stuff. And Dan, you will be putting on the yellow and black face paint and going down to Vicarage Road with Joseph.
Watford and Man United. That'll be an easier watch than Watford Spurs, which was he was winding me up all during that game. So.
Any fun stuff at the weekend as well, apart from that? Well, that should be fun, shouldn't it?
Yeah, no, I'm sure. But Sunday, I'm sure I'll be doing something with the boys and that. Yeah.
And Jason, hard at it, or have you got some leisure time?
No, I've had my leisure time, so it's time to make up for the. Looking forward in for about 11 o'clock Saturday morning, and we'll kick off with Liverpool and Spurs, and looking forward to a good weekend of football.
Those weekends in the office must be so much more enjoyable when there's proper football rather than international stuff, aren't they, Jason?
Well, careful what to say now in case the boss is listening, but it's nice to get the off periods with the international breaks. You catch up on a bit, but it's good to get the Premier League football back.
Catch up on work.
I think what you meant to say is every day at work is fantastic. That was the political answer in case your boss is listening. Thank you very much, chaps. Top wisdom as always. Great stuff. Don't forget, we've got golf postcasts every Wednesday, racing postcasts every Monday and Friday. If you do enjoy these, please do make sure you rate, review and subscribe wherever you're listening. We're back next Thursday with another Racing Post football postcast. We do hope you can join us.
Throw-ins, corners, yellow cards. Previously very boring. Now almost too exciting. Thanks to same-game multi-bets from Paddy Power. Same-game multis allow you to combine multiple selections into one game. Easy. Available on all UK and top European leagues. T's and C's apply.